Of Bringing the Talks. I'm your host, Jay Breezy, aka Jay Breezy, and I'm glad that you guys, if you made it this far and you've been keeping up all the episodes from before and you're now here at episode number 5, thank you. I appreciate you, and I hope we can, talk and chop it up and see where anything can go from there. But without further ado, we have a special guest today. This is somebody that I've been coming out to her shows, seeing what she does on stage, feeling the effect that she has with the people around us. We hear, and in full effect, the one and only Ashlye. welcome.
And thanks for always supporting me and always coming to my shows. It means so much. Generally.
We try to do as much as we can to actually reach out, and honestly, this is before you, I've never had anyone sing that I knew personally that we went to their show. So that was the first experience for us, me personally too. So I appreciate you. But how are you doing?
I'm good, kicking. Days have been busy, but we're alive, so that's something to be grateful for.
Exactly. Okay. I just want to say, even coming here, we in B-Town, by the way. Shout out to everybody in B-Town.
Brampton.
And you get two things. There's two things. Either you love it or you hate it and you have a story. I don't hate it, but I have a story. Tell me why I'm coming off the highway, not even 2 seconds really into Brampton, and I have today, as I'm coming here. I get off the highway and there's a man that's literally I don't know what he was trying to do, but he just kept slowing down every 2 seconds. So I go into the next lane, he's coming into the next lane. I'm like, yo, I'm not even in Brampton for 2 seconds.
What did you do to him?
I was driving in Brampton.
He knows you're from the East End, that's why.
Jeez. Something about the way I indicated, probably.
Yo.
But yeah, so introduce yourself. Tell the people about you, a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Ashlye. And I am a songwriter, singer, soul singer, and I like to make music that leaves some sort of impact on people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Short
and simple. All right. Cool. So when you're saying you love to impact people, when did you realize that? Okay, I'm singing, because how everybody they come up, they're singing as a kid. You love to sing. You're just playful with it. Mm-hmm. At what point did it change for you from okay, wait, I like singing to wait, I love singing? Mm-hmm. Explain that.
It's funny how you frame that question, because my whole entire life I've been singing and doing music since I was 6 years old. I was enrolled in my vocal lessons. I got classically trained. I went to school for music, all high school, university, the full mile. And I'm not gonna lie, I love singing growing up, but I didn't fully find my passion. Even though my mom said that she saw that I had passion in it, I felt like it was almost a chore because I was doing it through lessons and I was kind of I was in school for it.
Yeah.
So kind of became numb to the whole idea of music being something that I completely love, doing it every single day. So I guess more or less I was numb to it at a certain point, but when my university introduced me to a songwriting course, that was part of my program, I was like, okay, I guess I can write music, and it was something that I never thought I could do, or that was possible for me to do.
Yeah.
I always thought that songwriting was only meant for the big artists and people who were official or the big dogs or whatever. So then when I tapped into that side of myself, I was like, okay, not too bad. I guess I can do this. Then when the pandemic hit, that's when I realized, okay, I clearly have some sort of connection to myself through this way, and using my own skills and knowledge on music that I had before growing up somehow is coming to life even more while diving deeper into my songwriting skills and understanding that I guess that's my tool for connecting for other people.
Nah,
So,
that's what's up. Jeez.
So that's when I realized it during the pandemic.
During the pandemic?
Yeah.
So you've been doing music your whole life, and then...
Yeah.
Wow. that's a long time to, like, you know, not fake it, but, like, you have to fake it to a certain extent.
Yeah, like, I was just doing it because it was just second nature. And,
Yeah.
like, I liked music, and that was the only thing I knew.
Mm.
But then when I realized it brought some sort of like soul out of me when I was songwriting, and that I can actually curate songs on my own, that's when I was like, okay.
So what were you doing before? You were just like practicing like singing other songs and just getting your voice right?
Yeah, like when I had like so many vocal coaches and mentors, and the curriculum that I was in like was all classical. So like I sang in Italian, I sang in German, I sang in like Latin, French, all that stuff. Had no idea what these.
I was just about to ask you. Wow.
But I was just rolling with it because a lot of the stuff that they taught me was technique. And I guess looking back at it now, I realize like why I sing the way that I sing today, because of the habits that I've always had growing up.
Yeah.
But they never really taught me what it meant to actually connect your soul and yourself into music. So being in that lane, in that curriculum, you were always taught to like sing a certain way, sound a certain way, be in this little box.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was actually able to sit down when the world stopped and said, yo, connect with yourself and like, you know.
Yeah. I feel like that happened with a lot of people. Like, that's kind of like how this whole thing came about. I said in our previous episodes, and it's really crazy when you know, you get that second to like stop and reflect, and you see like, wow, whoa, shit was like, it was sideways for a long time. Yeah.
The world is so busy that like, you forget to look at yourself and like pay attention to like who you are and what your spirit is.
Yeah.
So even though it was like, I don't even remember the past couple years with the pandemic, like my concept of time is gone. But I'm grateful for it to happen because I'm able to see myself in a different light and to be able to connect to even music in that way, you know?
Interesting. So I'm getting that you said that, you know, throughout the pandemic, took a step back. Now you started like writing songs, and that kind of like developed your love for singing. What is even like when you're songwriting? What's that process like for you?
My process.
And this is something that's like very interesting. Like I listen to a lot of hip hop rap, so hearing some of the bars and how they're structuring the songs, I'm always like how are these guys doing it? And singers are doing the same thing. So this is something I'm like genuinely interested in hearing your point of view on.
Like, do you want to know the process of like the breakdown?
I'm talking like
I
want to release something.
Okay.
Inspiration, what you do to kind of like create the lyrics, and how do you structure everything, kind of like that.
I guess going off of that, I don't necessarily think of like, okay, I want to release something ASAP. I have different methods depending on my mood, but for the most part, like, if I'm feeling a certain way about something, or like I want to create a story along the lines of a message that I have in mind or a concept that I have in mind, I have to sit down and like write about it. So like I have a lot of poems written down, and I journal a lot too. So like my concepts are pulled from like my own thoughts and ideas and emotions, and then I curate the lyrics in that way. Or if you're getting technical with it, I usually go through like let's say an instrumental that I'm given, or like I'll create one with producers that I work with in the studio. Yeah. And then I'll go on my own time and create the melody itself first. And then from my melody, I'll have like different words that like come up in the melody, and then I'll piece it together to see what I'm actually talking about.
So you'll start with so you're hearing the beat and you're kind of like da, 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 like trying to catch it, and then you fill it in later. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, like I'll listen back to my recordings and I'll hear certain words coming from different places, and then I'll start to piece together like what I'm getting from the song and what I'm trying to talk about. So
then quickly touch on like, because journaling, that's something that I started up like recently. I've been going on like a month, and I feel like I have like kind of an idea, but like how do you use journaling to help with like the songwriting?
I see journaling as something to kind of clear my mind. So I know people who journal and they'll have like a series of questions or prompts to give them something to write about.
Yeah.
But for me, I'll literally sit down and I'll be like, okay, what am I gonna talk about today?
Yeah.
And I'll literally write down like what's on my mind at that moment, what I'm feeling at that moment, and then I'll go on like a tangent with just dumping everything that I have in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, I'll like pull out, okay, like I can connect the melody that I wrote for this song. Like they don't happen simultaneously. Like I won't do a melody and then go back to my journal and be like, okay, these two fit together. Like later on, I'll realize like, oh, this melody actually can go with this journal that I wrote like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And it kind of creates in that way. Like there's no set process. But and there's also some days where I can just write a whole song in one sitting.
Yeah.
So
It all just depends on the.
yeah.
Yeah. I find whenever you're in like a creative space, it's pretty hard to. When people are asking, okay, so like, what's the process? Because there really is no process. You're kind of just like flowing with it and going as you go. But that's very interesting.
There's no recipe. Everyone has a different formula, I guess.
Y'all heard it here first. You trying to do something, there's no recipe. Just go with
do
what.
it.
Just do it.
As long as you step foot to go and do it, then it'll come together in the end.
Perfect. So,
Yeah.
what was your first step, and what did that look like? So you have these songs here.
Yeah.
You're saying, okay, I've learned how to sing.
Okay.
I know how to write music because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
What made you take that step to say, okay, let me perform and like do this shit now?
It's so funny because growing up, like I'm so used to performing. I've always done like competitions, recitals, all those things.
Yeah.
And I didn't really feel like I was myself performing other people's songs. So my thing, I believe that my purpose has like everything to do with inspiring people, and the music is my tool to do that. So why am I gonna gatekeep the songs that I'm creating? Why not I just like perform them and then show people in a different way?
Jeez, that's true.
So, yeah, like I don't have a lot of my songs that you guys heard before on my platforms now, but I think actually performing it and embodying like how I feel and engaging with like a live crowd kind of just nurtures what I'm trying to.
Interesting. And that's what it's all about. Just inspiring. You've inspired me to even, I see you on the stage and you're doing what you're doing. Got to make sure that within my own lane, I'm doing the same too.
Yeah,
so
you just
it's
gotta
definitely
get up and go do it.
Yeah, definitely inspiring. So when you're performing, you're on stage. What are some things that you're doing like before you perform or like the day of your performance? Is there any like superstitions you have?
I don't like to speak.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like to talk on the day of my performance.
Yeah.
And I don't want to come off as rude to people, but that's just something that I do because I I still get nervous to this day, but I don't, like I've learned how to cope with that nervousness and anxiousness. But part of that has everything to do with me being afraid that my voice is going to crack on stage, or I don't have any control of my voice, or I'm not going to be too happy about the tone that I'm going to execute on stage. So I don't like to talk the day of my performance.
Jeez.
So I'm literally just always hiding in the back or like talking as minimal as much as I can.
Whispering and shit.
Yeah, not really whispering. Whispering is bad for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But you'll see me like with my honey packets, eating them, and like my hot water.
Yeah.
And then before stage, I'll pray, and I'll also sit in silence because that's kind of what gets me in my own moment. And being present is so important to me to be able to actually enjoy and be present in that moment on stage rather than just I want to get it over with and then completely miss out on what's happening.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, in pursuing this career, like what are some of the things that have been some of your like biggest highlighted moments?
My highlighted moment?
Yeah.
Ooh, like performing wise or like other than that?
Just in general.
I think there's no specifics, but last year I literally told myself like I wanted to create like a musician or producer team and like have people that had my back and that I trusted. And like I didn't have that a year ago today. Like I kind of did with a few people, but they didn't really work out. But I was like, okay, my focus this year is to generally build relationships with people that I can trust.
Yeah.
And make music that we all can connect to and vibe with, and something that we can all move forward together in. And I always had it in the back of my mind, and then it just started to happen as the months went on. And I think like that's one of the things I'm so grateful to this day. Like, you've seen them perform with me. Like, that's also another blessing, because now a lot of people perform with their producers or people that they create music with. So that's really unique to me, to know that we can bring whatever we create down here onto the stage and like show people like, yo, like, this is what you're doing.
Literally.
You know? That's
big.
So that's, as of right now, is one of my biggest highlights. But just in general, like, it's just crazy to me to see how everything comes full circle. When I'm thinking about something or I'm striving for something, I don't notice it at the time because I'll have like my really low moments, and I'll just want to like stop what I'm doing and just go like the comfortable route. But then I'll look back a couple months later and I'm like, wow, like I wasn't in the same place that I was before, and just see how much I've grown from there. So that's
interesting.
It's not really a specific thing, but that's just my outlook on it all.
Yeah.
You know?
Through your entire journey, you know, you're starting to perform and make music. What are some of the things that have been a little bit difficult for you to like handle, and how do you handle them?
Difficult for me to handle what?
So like, you know, your voice cracks on stage, or a mic isn't working, or you know, like something like the bulb. My bulb. You know what I mean? I have a bulb that's responsible for the lights. You know, everything's getting set up. I dropped it. The bulb didn't crack though, but the inside did, and I turned it on and it started smoking, and I'm like, oh shoot. But we're here. Everything is blessed. The lights are on, and the camera's rolling. We're here. So how did you? Something similar to that you kind of like, you know, you just rerouted and made your way.
It's interesting to me because I take everything as full face value. Like, if something happens that doesn't go necessarily the way that I want it to go, okay, this is happening for a reason. I don't know what reason it is, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a negative way, but like, it's just a mindset thing for me.
Yeah.
That's more. Sorry, my dog is crying.
She got two big dogs upstairs.
And they sound like human beings.
Wait, that was your dog? What the hell? I thought that was like your little brother. That's all I heard. That's a joke.
That's my dog.
That's actually hilarious. Yo, team dog, all the way.
I think the number one thing for me to always remember is the patience. Because like, there's really no point in me being worked up in a situation that I have no control in. Sorry.
Sorry.
And yeah, just believing that everything in that moment is happening for some sort of reason, and just trusting that things will work out in the way it needs to work out.
Yeah, that's all we can
so
do.
I don't have like practical ways of how to deal with it. It's just I do all like the mental work, like when like I'm by myself, like I read a lot, I journal a lot, like that helps me prepare for situations that'll test me, you know?
Yeah. So, kind of builds up like a shield almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Because I could go the unhealthy way, but
that's true. Lock everybody out. No,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So on a lighter note, what about some of your musical influences? Like, I know you said classical music, and you touched on a few other genres. What would be? Because I know your playlist has to, as a musician, your playlist has to be fire. So who are some of those influences for you growing up in a singing aspect?
Growing up in a singing aspect, I really looked into like lyrically and like just the overall essence, Lauryn Hill. Like, I really mess with her and how she delivers not only herself, but the message she tries to portray. Like, she had that one album where she said peace. Like, she said she made that impact, and then
that's all y'all getting.
That's it.
Yeah.
And she really made an impact in the world, and it's like, wow, to have that much like impact on music and on people is crazy. So her, and then Alicia Keys is also somebody that I also looked up to. I'm trying to think of singers off the top of my head, because whenever someone asks me about like my influences, I always think about lyrically for some reason.
Yeah.
And production wise. But as of now, in terms of singers, I'm looking. I don't know if you've heard of Yeba.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an amazing singer. So vocally, technically, like her level is where I want to be at one day.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So where did like you mentioned it a little earlier. You said like soul. That's kind of like your genre. Do you see yourself stepping into any other lanes as of yet?
What lanes?
any other lanes out of maybe going R&B or maybe doing like a little bit more pop style. Yeah.
I do want to somehow bring different elements of genres that I kind of grew up on. So like on my dad's side, like he was really exposed to like classic rock and like all that stuff, alternative rock. And my mom's side, like she exposed me to a lot of like the old school R&B, music, soul child, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously I went to school and then I had my classical. So I'm trying to figure out how I can piece all those together in some sort of way and bring those different elements because I think that'd be pretty cool.
That would be hard.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jeez. I mean, that kind of answers it because you could create like a unique genre based on gathering little bits and pieces that you've had, throughout your life.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, makes someone like yourself doing what you do kind of stand out a little bit more than, the next person that's doing the same thing. So that's interesting. Okay. What I'm trying to ask is, how do you like get better and how do you like track your progress to getting better? Like you have a goal, how are you like consistent?
My success?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know. I think measuring success in general is really hard to do because everybody has their own definition of it.
True.
But for myself, I like to practice gratitude a lot. I sound so like deep, but like,
that's who you are though.
but it just shows me that like okay, like I'll always compare myself. There's not one day like it's hard to not compare yourself when you're looking at social media. Like I hate being on social media, but unfortunately like that's what comes with this.
Yeah.
I'll always compare myself, but then I always try to owe it to myself to see one grateful thing that I have towards myself, and that prompts me to look back where it was, like I was saying earlier, like a year ago today, like I didn't have what I have right now.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one method of how I can measure my success.
That's a bulb cracking, not the one that's on the table.
Whew, I thought it was that bulb.
No. Measuring success.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Because in this aspect that I'm about to talk about, like I wouldn't say that I'm 100% successful in that yet. But when I'm able to like actually genuinely feed everybody that I care about and love, like not even just like that love aspect, but like even financially and like just providing for people and like putting people on, when I'm able to do that without like strain on myself, then I'm like, okay, like I got there and I'm good.
Yeah. Like
it just pushes me to like continue and doing more. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I try to feed people where I can.
Exactly.
And how I can, but when I'm able to do that without any strain and like in a lump sum way, that would be. That's
like the ultimate.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. So like touch on a little bit of what kind of like, what charges up Ashlye every day to hop out of bed and say, you know what, every day I'm gonna go at this music shit, even if it's not really showing any benefit. What keeps you motivated, throughout all the ups and downs of something that is as vulnerable as, putting music out there?
Yeah. It's tough because lately my days have been like, yo, I can't do this. But the one thing I will always circle back on is the fact that I have some sort of purpose in this life, and I'm meant to fulfill it with using my tool, which is music, and my voice and my lyrics in some sort of aspect. and knowing or trying to understand like what my purpose is what gets me okay. Like I'm not the only one in this world. Like there's other people to impact and like also push them towards their purpose and inspire them in some sort of way towards whatever their journey is or whatever impact that they want to bring to the world too.
Jeez.
So when I have those days, that's
game over. Okay.
But I try to always wake up every morning and think of that, even on my low days. But sometimes it's tough.
No, it is, honestly. Like even like with me personally, like editing these videos, because I'm trying to do all the editing and everything myself, and it's like some days I'm like, man, like I have to sit there and go through and chop everything up. But yeah, I think that definitely keeping the end goal in mind and like your reason why, you always hear it everywhere you go, and it's like it's important because like if you don't have a why, then it's like you're gonna get to E eventually. Yeah. It's
also it has everything to do with what environment you're surrounded by as well.
That's big.
So if you're surrounded by people who are not on the same forefront as you, like let's say like you're in this creative field and then you're surrounded by people who work in a different field, I don't know,
warehouse or some shit.
Yeah, you know, like you're gonna feel like, okay, I'm either going this route, like it looks impossible because I'm surrounded by this environment.
Exactly.
Just go that route.
Yeah.
You know? So that can also put such a strain on a person when they're thinking or when they're in that environment. So that's another thing I'm grateful for, that I've surrounded myself now with a bunch of people who think like me. Like I went through a whole turnaround like this past year with like people in my life.
Yeah.
I've lost so many people in my life, but I've also gained a lot.
Yeah.
More than anything. So for anybody who's watching, is going through that like low point and you feel so alone, it's happening for a reason, and you'll feel your high.
Jeez. Keep spitting to the camera to let them know, some advice. Drop some gems. Whatever you can come up with. Anybody that's like mainly for that young singer, whether female or male, and they could even be old too and just trying to sing.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them on pursuing something like singing?
The way I think of it is you only have one human life right now. And life is like, this year has taught me that life is so short that if you're not going for something that you're passionate about or that you love, you're just going to feel miserable, and why would you want to waste that on like the one life that you have in this current moment, Yeah, I think that's something that also keeps me pushing too, rather than going a route that somebody else might want me to be in.
Yeah.
I choose to stick to this route and continue fulfilling it no matter how many doubts come across me, even towards myself. Because I only have one life,
Exactly. Jeez. You guys heard it here first. Well, I want to, first of all, thank you for, being on the show. This means a lot to see you do your thing and to see how, like, genuine you've been. And, like, I really do feel like, like a genuine friendship is developing. I'm grateful for you and what you bring to the city.
Yeah, we should talk more.
I'm telling you.
I see you at the show and
Literally.
we like really like speak to each other or like have those moments to talk to each other.
The friends of the city. But I'll reach my hand out. But yeah, anything upcoming? Anything going in like June or anything like that?
Yeah. I have a show in June.
Jeez.
It's for North by Northeast. And then after that, I also have a show in July for the city of Brampton. They're putting a festival called the Rose Bowl. And then in between those, you'll see some live performances online.
Ooh, okay. But when this episode drops, you should be like weeks away from the show.
Yeah,
so definitely be on the lookout for that. Again, if you guys took anything from this video, we went over all of her history with music. We talked about some of the things that she had to overcome, what motivates her, where she sees herself going. If you guys took anything from that, especially my singers out there, if y'all took anything from it, then my job here is done. I'm your host, Jay Breezy, aka Jay Breezy. This is my lovely guest, Ashlye. This is another episode of BringingTheTalks, and we out.
did that.
We did that.
No. Right?
You
That's
know.
crazy. Now here we are on podcast.
Okay.
Full circle moment.
Full circle moment. Here we know.